What's up, you guys? Welcome back to YouTube Barber Academy, and today we got a very in-depth tutorials. This is for barbers. This is for people who are really trying to learn this industry, and you will not find much interest in this video if you are not. And I'm going to show you guys how to tackle this haircut using my 6-phase approach that I've developed, and many of the Stylecraft educators go around the country and teach it. So I'm going to show you guys how to properly do this one step at a time. There'll be several checkpoints throughout this process. And if you've watched other tutorials that just quickly show you how good they are, that's not what this is. This is going to be a tutorial to show you how good you can become. So if you guys want to support this video in any way, just drop a thumbs up because these are a lot of work to make, and just drop a comment, show some love, and maybe support our sponsors. You will find them down below. And on that note, let's just talk about a quick sponsor. This video is brought to you by Booked In. You guys can head over to bookedin.com/Eddie. Redeem your offer for up to 50% off your first 3 months. All right, you guys, so we're going to start this off very simply, and we want to build some weight around the parietal ridge. So if I was to take a comb and place it on the side of the head, right where it sticks out, that's the parietal ridge. So that's why I chose to begin this haircut actually with a number 3. And if I'm paying attention to his growth patterns, which is something that you need to do as you become an expert, you'll pay attention to this stuff. We want to make sure that we're going against the grain. This is bulk removal, and this is phase 1. So I'm going to put a P and a 1. I was going to do a fancy one, but I'm just going to do that. So I'm going to put a phase 1. Phase 1 simply means that we're going to reduce bulk. We're going to get the electric shaver. We're going to put in our line. We're going to do all of our setup. So to start this with, when we're dealing with a client that we're not sure how it's going to go, or period, just every client, this is a good idea, especially for a beginner. Take your clipper that you planned on doing a lot of your blending with. This is my Saber 2 Echo Crunch Blade. I'm going to close it, and I'm going to put in my line with this. Now take your time here. We're not worried about the very bottom. We're going to use our trimmer there, but that's going to be our closed taper line. So right here, the most important thing is the rest of your haircut is going to rely on the foundation of this. We need to make sure that we put this line in the way we want it to. Now I'm putting a mid skin fade line in here, and I'm filming this POV to show you guys. So many times I'm standing off to the side and I'm leaning out of the way of the camera. In this case, I'm actually showing you exactly where your arm should be. It should be close to your body. You're going to be very steady here, and you're going to be working on everything. Don't be afraid to direct the client's head, and take some time, look in the mirror, and make sure you get this right. Let's talk about the back for a second. You might do a bit of a drop in the back. You might put it straight across in the back, which is what I opted to do here. It really just depends on the client's occipital bone. I try not to fade on that bone. I'll either do it above or below. So next step here, we're going to take our trimmer, and I'm going to put a T right here, our trimmer, and we're going to come up to where we stopped with that line. And this is where we're going to start flicking up and out. I like holding my trimmer like this for this process, right side up, flicking it up and off. That's going to make the line much easier to remove, much easier to take out. Take your time with this process. We don't want to have to go back to this, clean up any of the little hard to reach spots like around the ear, neck, and we can continue moving forward into our electric shaver. So this is going to be our last step here. We'll pretend that this now has become our trimmer where we stopped, and we're going to put our skin. So we're going to remove this skin. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going up to that line, flicking up. This is the best way that you can soft set your guidelines to make things just easy on yourself going down the haircut. So let's quickly recap phase 1. All we did was we set in our initial skin line. We removed some of the bulk off the sides just so we could see where we were putting that skin line in at. We used our electric shaver, and we built some symmetry around the head. Now we're going to move in to phase 2. In phase 2, our goal is to continue removing bulk and start to build that weight in the parietal ridge area. So I'm simply going to take my comb, I'm going to hold my clipper in the pencil grip, I'm going to tip it out, and I'm going to just build a shape. Now, you see me moving kind of quick. I don't have to move this quick. I've moved this quick because I have a lot of years and a lot of practice doing this, but all you really have to do is try to hold it square on the head and cut the stuff that sticks out. Make sure that you're keeping it tipped out slightly so that you're creating a blend, but also try to keep in mind that this is very much like a clipper guard. If I use like a pinky, a finger, or something to kind of push off of the head and maintain that same space between the comb and the head, whatever you need to do that, go ahead and do that. If you're uncomfortable with clipper over comb, this is one of the very few techniques that you can actually get a mannequin, put some work in, and actually get better. There are very few places where a mannequin can really help you. when it comes to learning how to fade, but clipper over comb is certainly one of them, and I have an entire video on using this. So that's going to be that. We're going to move on to phase 3. Now phase 3 is going to be cutting the top. Now when it comes to cutting the top, we're going to break this down really in depth here. I hope you guys are enjoying this. I hope you guys are learning something. Drop a thumbs up down below. Drop some comment down below. It really helps me grow. All they ever want to see on YouTube is review, review, review. And as you guys can see, I come alive and I feel a lot of passion for teaching. So we are in phase 3, cutting the top. Now the beauty of the system, phase 1, removing the bulk. Phase 2, setting in the shape. Phase 3, we cut the top. Now we know where we're coming from. We know where we're going to. And don't worry, you guys who are waiting for the fade. Phase 4 is the fade. We're going to break that down really clearly, really in depth. If you don't know what this channel is all about, this is what we're all about, guys. Just breaking down fades to actually teach beginners. So here we go, guys. You're going to see me pick up a mohawk section. Now this is a top-down view. Let's just pretend his nose is right here and it's not really that big. And we're going to omit some of the bangs as practice. So I'm going to pick up my first section. I'm going to pick up my first section being this mohawk guideline, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut. Don't worry about putting texture in your guideline. Texturizing your guideline is just, there's no reason to make this harder to follow than it already will be. We can point cut and we will point cut and we will add texture later. But all we really want to do right now is set in a really nice guideline in the center of the head. Now, once I have this guideline set in the center of the head, I'm going to stand directly behind him now, right? And I'm going to start picking up that little bit of hair beside it. So I'm going to show you what our focus is. Our focus is this line. So that's our guide. It's already cut, and our focus will become this line. In essence, we're going to be making the guide a little bit larger. So when I pick up these sections, the only thing I'm worried about is making sure that I'm taking care of this area right here. And I'm going to do that all the way back. In my next section, I'm going to section just beside it, and I'm going to extend my guide a little bit further. Then I'm going to jump over to the other side. I'm going to extend my guide a little bit further. So what is actually happening here, if we look at it from this point of view real quick, here was our guide right here, and here's the hair that we're picking up beside it. It's obviously a little bit longer, and we're cutting that little bit of hair. Now, a principle to keep in mind is we want to keep pulling our fingers out to 90 degrees. 90 degrees means it's the same shape as the scalp. So when I pull this hair up, here would be 90 degrees. If I pull up hair from here and I direct it over here, look how much longer that's going to be. When it comes back, it's going to wind up being longer. What that means is it's okay if you pick up extra hair in the section. You can cut it, but you're going to have to direct it correctly to get all this hair cut to the proper length. Now, we've stood behind him just like this, and we did most of our cutting standing this way. That's horizontal. We want to stand vertically now to cross-check it. So when you lift this up, don't be surprised if you see some little areas that need to be fixed. Fix them and move on with your life. I see so many people overcomplicating scissor work, and it's kind of hard to watch. I don't really understand why people feel the need to make a million sections and do all this stuff. I think a lot of these YouTubers just need to make content, so they make it a lot more difficult than it needs to be. This process here has held me down for something like 23 years. I've been using pretty much the same thing. Little variances here and there, but for the most part, that's all we really need to do, and that'll get you by just fine. Now, let's just quickly talk about the front here for a second. In the front, remember how I said to omit the front? As you get a little bit more advanced, all we're going to do in the front is comb the bangs down and cut them, just like you see. And then I'm going to stand off to the side again, and I'm going to blend my interior length, the hair we just cut, to whatever that exterior length is. So I'll just show you real quickly. If our bangs were cut down here, and they grow out from here, when I lift that up, right, let's say they're longer, they might go all the way to here. Now the rest of our length might be here. So when I lift this up, I'm not going to recut the bangs. That would be wrong. I'm going to just cut whatever the little bit of hair might stick up here. I'm going to clean that up. That's going to blend our interior length to our exterior length simply by over directing and letting that. There's a couple of different more advanced techniques you can use for this, but most of the time this is going to be the one that you probably should be using because it's going to be the most accurate. Of course, another way would be we could lift up the front, pull it back, and cut it with the rest of the section, and essentially that will leave you with the same type of style. So with that being said, the top and phase 3 is just about complete. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my texturizing shears, I'm going to remove a little bit of the bulk, and if you notice when you're combing through here, you can see if there's any mistakes, and you can also see if you've built your weight the way you wanted to. Now, using my 90-degree technique is going to be perfectly fine on his hair, but at the same time, there are times where I might actually just direct it out and leave it a little bit longer around the parietal ridge area if I really need to build that weight. So now we've done phase 1, we've done phase 2, we've done phase 3. We know where we're starting from, we know where we're going to, and it is now time to do phase 4, the blend. So let's erase this. We're going to put a 4, call this the line that we really need to remove, which we know we put that in with a closed taper. So I have the closed taper line right here, and what we're going to do now is we're going to grab one of our clippers. Again, I'm using the saber, and we're going to put an open taper, and I put an open taper guideline in, and we're going to do this all the way around the head. Our goal here is to make sure that the clipper gets flat against the head at some point, and then it flicks up and out, and we want to maintain that same width, usually about a finger's width. Sometimes it's a little bit wider. It depends what type of blend you're going for. If you want it to be really compressed, you might actually make this a little bit smaller than what I have here. And my man Jesse Elite, he loves to put his thumb here, so I'm just going to demonstrate this real quick. He likes to put his thumb there so that he stays more accurate. I think it's a great way for new people to do that. Put your thumb there and kind of, you can ride the clipper right into your thumb and you can set a really good guideline. This is actually why in phase 1 it was so important that we put this guideline in accurately, because now when we go back and we do this, we're going to build the rest of our haircut off of that foundation. So we want to make sure that we do that. I just got a notification from Booked In. I just had a client cancel that was kind of a good move, because now I got a little bit more time with another customer, which I needed. So, all right, we've got our open taper guideline set in, and we're going to go ahead. We're going to ignore our bottom line right now. The next step, what we're going to do is we're going to take our number 1 and we're going to make another guideline in the head. So we got our number 1 on, and typically what I love to do here is I like to actually usually go 2 clicks down. So I'll close it all the way and I'll go 2 clicks back. That'll be 1, 2. I remove the clicks from this one, but the one that I'm using in the video actually has clicks. So I typically go 1, 2, back down, and I'm going to set my next guideline in exactly the same way. I can use my thumb if I want. If you're a little bit more of a beginner, you can definitely do that, whether you are a beginner or not. It actually is something I started experimenting with when I came back from Chicago, and I find myself kind of enjoying using that technique as well. And using the POV view here, I'm able to see. One of the reasons why I don't close the one all the way or open the one all the way is I want a better idea of what this step is going to look like. We're going to do this step all the way around the head. Now we've set in a few guidelines here, and pretty soon we're going to start to take them out. If you notice, every time so far, we've kept our clipper pretty horizontal. Horizontal, horizontal. Whether we had a guard on or we didn't. Now, once we get to the point of the haircut that we need to start blending, that's all going to change. Horizontal for setting in guidelines, vertical for removing them. If you guys remember in barber school, horizontal lines build weight, vertical lines reduce weight. So now we're going to start to reduce weight, and we're going to start to create an actual bit of a blend. Now you notice that this number 1 did some pretty good damage because of how careful we were, because of how we set our steps in. Our number 1 has some areas where it's starting to blend out pretty nice. But we actually have not even begun the blend just yet. Once we complete this number 1, we have another option, and the option would be we can address the connection to the top, or we could start working on the bottom. And this is one of the things that makes hair cutting so complicating. It makes so complicated because there's a million different roads through the jungle. So I'm going to show you what I like to do, and in the end, you'll make your own system. You'll have something that you like to do as well, and you'll be able to do it. The next step we're going to do is the 1.5. And actually with the 1.5, we'll begin with that fully open, and we'll close it as needed. So with the 1.5, we're essentially not really setting in another guideline because we began this with a 3. This 1.5 or a number 2 is going to be pretty much everything we need to get that blend into the top. And let's remember that Clippers are not always the end all be all, so don't try to obsess, don't try to make it so perfect. We have some shear over comb, we have some texturizing shears, we have some things we can do to complete that blend. So many of you guys go a little bit too high in this step. You blow out this guideline, and then you don't really have a nice, smooth, seamless fade like what I'm going to get with this client's haircut. So open it, close it as needed, and you're going to see it's going to start to blend into the top quite well. And that's with it fully open, and then we're going to begin to close it. Don't be surprised if one side of the hair behaves a little differently than the other side of the hair. And if you notice, this is the first step that I actually started doing a little bit of tipping the clipper, a little bit of clipper manipulation, a little bit of using it on angles and using it on a corner, and that's because I'm actually beginning my blend. Normally, when I get done with this 1.5, most of the time I have a pretty good connection into the top, but in his case, his hair is just so thick that I decided I actually need to go back with a number 2, and I need to clear that out just a little bit more with a number 2. Then we're going to get into the actual removal of these guidelines. If I had $1 for how many times you guys have asked me, how do I remove that final skin line? It's very difficult. No, it's not. I'm going to show you guys every little step here, and it's going to be super easy, and you'll be able to do it too. However, let's just do a quick recap. We finished off with that 1.5. I did it 1.5 open, 1.5 closed, and I have a pretty good blend. I might jump back to a number 2 at some point, clean up the top a little further, but it's time to start removing these guidelines. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to grab our clipper that we actually have set fairly close, which for me is this exact saber right here. I have it closed all the way, and now I'm going to tip it on an angle. And I'm only going to poke a couple of teeth into it. I'm going to use a couple of teeth, and I'm going to poke into that blend, and I'm going to kind of just flick at it with the corner. Now, it might look at times like I do have it horizontal, but I actually have only one tooth down. So a couple of teeth here, a couple of teeth there. Pay attention to the growth patterns. Pay attention to the way the hair grows. If it's growing really heavily forward like it is on the left side, that might mean that I need to tip my clipper a different way. Maybe I'm using the right side. Maybe I'm using the left side. So you can cut against the grain, across the grain, and in some cases, curly hair, you can cut with the grain. We're not going to be doing that in this particular haircut, but against the grain and across the grain. Across the grain means that his hair is growing this way, and maybe I'm chipping into it the other way. That's when I don't want to take as much. Now it is time that we use the best barber tool we have, which is actually our eyes. So we're going to let our eyes kind of guide us on what we need to do. And as we go through with that first initial couple of flicks, we're going to be able to start opening our lever just slightly, little bit at a time, working our way up into the haircut. Don't worry if you make another little line, that's why we have a lever, that's why we have a blade that adjusts. So little by little, we're going to start to use this. Now, another thing that's very advantageous is using something like this Echo Crunch blade. Let's say that I'm new and I don't exactly know what I'm doing. I can listen for the Echo Crunch blade as it's cutting. I can hear it. Listen. You hear that crunch? So that noise, that's eventually going to stop. And that means that it's time to probably move my lever, change what I'm doing, possibly put a guard on. And we did skip the half guard because, again, we weren't doing any blending just yet. We were just setting in guidelines. Anybody who watches the tutorial could probably watch how I set in these guidelines. And I think you could probably do it, especially if you use the little thumb trick, you run it right into your thumb. I think that you guys could do it. It's this step that really throws the students for a loop because they don't really understand sometimes how to just let their eyes do the job. So once we've done everything we feel like we can do with our clipper, we've moved it all the way back to the open position using only the corner. Now it's time we move into our half guard. When we put our half guard on, we always start with it about halfway open because there wasn't always a half guard, and halfway open is really the only length that it hits. If we put it all the way open with a half guard on, that's actually cutting longer than a number 1 in the closed position. Not super important. If you don't understand that, it really doesn't matter. But the whole point of this is we want to understand how our tools work and what it is they're doing. So a little bit of half guard, you might not need to use it in every single spot. And then if there's still any residual line, one of the reasons why we soft set that guideline was to make this whole thing go easier. If we put it in with this, we should be able to take it out with this. And at the worst, we might have to return back to our trimmer. So we're using our trimmer the exact same way, just using one side of the blade or the other, flicking it. And then in some emergency situations, or a situation where we're really just kind of struggling with a line, we're going to use a single foil shaver. Now this one's called the One. This is from Johnny B and the Stylecraft collaboration, but it's exactly the same as the Uno 2.0, actually. USB-C charging, and just a great machine to be able to isolate little areas within the blend and make sure that we get all of this stuff blended out correctly. So once we're done with our blend and we are happy with our blend, we're going to repeat them same steps on the other side. We're going to be moving into our next phase. And our next phase is going to be phase 5. So while I'm doing this other side of the blend, I'll tell you a couple little tricks with the phase 5. So some people want a really deep, pronounced, strong edge up. Some of us are thinning out as it is. My personal preference and the way I kind of try to approach this is I always try to take less. I don't obsess over making it absolutely perfect. I will use some enhancements in phase 6 on this particular haircut, but I am not a big proponent of pushing the guideline back super far. I really don't want to do that. I just try to make the line clean and as best as I can. And some of the ways that I do that is by anchoring. So I might take my trimmer, right? I might hold it like this, and then I'll tap, and then I'll place, and then I'll anchor on the client's skin with the palm, and I'll tap it just like I would use a pencil. Or I'll be here, but I'm using some of my fingers, another one of my, maybe I'll take my thumb. I'll do anything I got to do to continue to build accuracy with these touches. So the Saber 2 blades, this trimmer is super quiet. When I got it on, I still think it's probably the best trimmer out there. These blades are really the secret behind why it's such a good tool. And you start to see these Saber trimmers in practically every single shop in the whole country over the last couple of years for a reason. They work really well, they cut really close, they're very quiet, and the digital brushless motors are super smooth. They have 4 hours of runtime. So if you're sitting here and you're like, Ed, I kind of need a new trimmer, what should I buy? Or Ed, I kind of want a new clipper, what should I buy? My top 2 favorite things to use right now are still the Saber clipper and the Saber trimmer. I just love them. They're smooth, they're quiet, they're powerful enough to do just about anything. They're not as powerful as an Instinct, but they're up there in the world of torque, and it really just makes things easy. Now, one thing I hear all the time is, how many clippers should I have? How many trimmers should I have? And I'll recommend you guys this right now. You should have at least 2 clippers and 2 trimmers, and that would be a bare minimum. How many clippers and trimmers do you have on your station right now? Drop it in the comments. I'm just curious. But if you notice, when it comes to detailing and finishing out the final phases of the blend, you see me jumping around with 2 different trimmers and 2 different clippers. The black one is zero gapped. It cuts really close, and I use that for removing my lines in a vast majority of my haircut. The other one is not zero gapped. I actually have it set back some so that I have the opportunity to hit a couple different lengths with the same exact tool. They both weigh the same, they both feel the same, my muscle memory is the same, so I actually do like having the exact same machine for both of these purposes, and it's nice that they're 2 different colors and I can differentiate one from the other. The other thing is with the trimmers. I have one trimmer that is zero gapped and I have one trimmer that is set back. Stylecraft sells a little tool that you can use to soft set your tools, and I could soft set the one side and I could set the other side a little bit more aggressively. Thought I had it here, I don't. So that's kind of the basic setup that I would say I need when I go to a show. I'm usually going to bring at least 2 most of the time. We've got to the point in our haircut where it is time to actually detail the fade just a little bit more with some shear over comb. I've done everything I feel like I can do with my clippers, so now I'm going to wet the hair, I'm going to comb it down, and I'm trying to create some weight. When I comb it down, you'll see the weight quite easily, especially once it's wet, and we're going to go up with some shear over comb. Shear over comb and clipper over comb are 2 very similar techniques. You want to grab like a taper comb, something thin, something that helps you get down to the length you're trying to get down to. If you're not comfortable using shears to do this technique, you can use texturizing shears. Personally, I like to do everything with regular shears as I've gotten better with this, And another little trick when I'm trying to square out, I'm trying to kind of square out the guidelines in the front of the hairline. A lot of times I like to use a pair of scissors to just kind of box off the corners, and it just makes things easier. So once I'm done using my regular shears for pretty much everything, I'll go back to my texturizing shears and I'll try to reduce a little bit of that weight and see if I can get that. Now, sometimes that means I need to comb it a little bit different depending on which way the growth patterns are going, and that's why sometimes you'll see me holding the comb upside down, right side up, and just doing everything I need to do to try to create this blend and make it as seamless as possible. So once we're done with our cleanup, it's time that we do our edge up, and that's actually technically done in phase 5. And phase 5 just means I'm using some anchoring. I didn't do a ton of edge up here, so I don't have a lot to show you, but in phase 5, I want to make sure that I'm anchoring, I want to make sure that I'm careful, and I want to follow up with the razor and get all my lines together, make sure everything is as accurate as I can make it. It's kind of funny, I've been wearing a weight vest this whole time. I'm burning calories as I'm doing tutorials. This thing weighs about 10 pounds. One of my customers gave it to me, and I'm trying to wear it. I'm trying to get the old abs back together. It's working, but yeah, that's what I'm doing here. And you know, after Easter and all the White Claw we drank and stuff like that, you know, I'm trying to make a little bit of a recovery here. Easter was literally like yesterday. What was yesterday? Day before yesterday. So yeah. All right, so following up with that razor, if you know how to hold the razor and if you know how to use the razor, it's really going to clean up your lines quite nicely. All I'm doing is stretching the skin, making sure I'm holding the razor the right way, and I'm taking very, very light, smooth strokes. The razors that I think are the best in the world are actually the Ghost razors. You can only get them from Fort Worth Barber Supply. You can use the code Eddie10 and save money on anything from Fort Worth Barber Supply. And then we're going to follow up with some Kiss Express. And all I like to do is just paint a little bit into the corner to kind of strengthen that corner a little bit. I'm going to do that on both sides. And I am going to actually use my new gun. A company sent me this one called a Swallowtail. It's a really nice gun, probably my favorite air gun that I've ever had. And we're going to use that to just kind of clean up those corners a little bit more. But 99% of the time, I still love to just kind of paint it in with a brush. Once I paint it in with a brush, I got my other one right next to me, and I'm going to brush it right through. I'm going to blend that all right in. So now we'll use a little bit of that Tomb 45 and that Swallowtail. I have one of the color cards from Tomb 45 as well, and I'm just going to do a nice light touch up here. You can do this darker. It's actually smart to do it darker because this lasts typically about 3 days. So when I spray this in, it's going to last me about 3 days. And it doesn't just blow away in the wind. A lot of people who don't know anything like to tell the world about all the stuff they do know. They act like, oh, this is going to blow away as soon as it doesn't. You can actually wash your hair and everything. So this is probably one of my favorite little tricks, guys. I keep some Q-tips on deck here. And I go through and I clean up any areas that I don't want there to be color in. Makes it super easy. I spray a little bit of my aftershave on the Q-tip. I go through. If you do it right away, you can get it to come off quite easily. Now we're going to head into phase 6, which is the final details of the haircut. This is when I'm going to pick up my electric shaver again, that Uno 2.0, or my Johnny B, the 1. I might pick up a trimmer. I might pick up another clipper. Now I'm actually just kind of spot checking, and I'm making sure everything's good. I actually had these clips reversed, but I did decide once I put a little bit of product in the hair and I got it up, I did decide that I was going to remove like just a tiny bit of his widow's peak. But as you can see, the very small amount that I took off the front of his hairline, it's going to grow back really nicely. He wears his hair like straight forward, and most of this is covered, so I try not to take this down too much. So we'll just follow up that little area with the shaver. But phase 6, all we do in phase 6 is anything that is not complete, anything that is out of whack, we make sure that we go ahead and we finish it off. So I'm going to finish the style off by putting a little bit of Johnny B King Mode in there. And that's actually going to show me the front of his hairline a little bit better. That's going to show me if I made any mistakes. And I can go back, I can clean off any of the excess color, tap around a little bit, and maybe add just a tiny bit more enhancements and get them as close to perfect as possible and get that final picture. So those of you guys who are hating on enhancements, I think it's dumb. I think you guys should give it a try. It actually makes it a lot of fun, and it gives you like this great picture, something you can advertise with, even if the client doesn't ask for them every time. But like if you're going to go through the trouble of filming the haircut, you're really looking to advertise yourself, you're really looking to compete, you are not going to be able to compete with all of the other photos and videos that these clients are seeing, because they're looking at their phone. They're like, wow, that haircut's perfect. Now, they don't know it's Photoshop. They don't know it's got color in it. They don't know all that stuff. You know all that stuff, but they don't. But regardless, they're going to put those people on a pedestal who are going above and beyond for their clients, and they're going to go ahead and they're going to look at your work and they're going to see it doesn't stack up. So make sure it does. You can also spray a little aftershave on your razor, and you can follow up with your razor, you know, afterwards on that. So as you guys can see, this video was a ton of work to make. We went through a lot of trouble here. We went through every single step. I showed you all 6 phases, and just a quick recap. Phase 1, remove bulk. Phase 2, clipper over comb. Phase 3, cut the top. Phase 4, do the blend. Phase 5, do the edge. Phase 6, final details, enhancements, and complete the rest of your look. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed the cut. I hope you guys learned something. Play this in your local barber school. Share this to a friend who needs it. And let me know what you guys think about the cut down below. And I will catch you guys in the next video. We will be re-reviewing the wall vapor. We have a couple of different things. I have the Andis Phenom, but there is also another video that's just near and dear to my heart. And I just want to tell you about it for 2 seconds. We went to a barber school. We paid off a barber tuition for a person in need. I always wanted to do good with this channel. Film the video, film the process. And unfortunately, the video just did not really get that many views. If you guys could watch this video, it would mean the world to me, because really the mission for me was to pay off as many barber tuitions as I possibly could. And the mission is in jeopardy if people don't watch the video, if people don't share the video, if it doesn't get much in the way of views. So if you guys can help me out with that, I'd really appreciate it. And maybe one day we can do it at a school near you. This is the YouTube Barber Academy, over 1,000 videos to help you learn. Subscribe if you're not already. Support our sponsors who all helped with that. Fort Worth helped with paying off that barber tuition, $1,500 in gift cards. Stylecraft paid off the other half of the tuition, gave away all the clippers, trimmers. Booked In helped with the other half of the tuition, and gave away $900 in gift cards to the homeless and free Booked In subscriptions to all the students. So great sponsors down below. You'll find them all linked below. I'll catch you guys in the next video. I'm out. Peace. What's up, what's up? When we're done with all of our customers here today, I want you guys to give them each one of these shampoos. This is Grow from Johnny B. And then this is a little styling cream here, so they can be looking good, smelling good, feeling good. And then also we're gonna give every